All right, good afternoon, people. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about this program called Alcoholics Anonymous. And I've been dealing with this program since about August, September of last year. And I never heard of it before. I didn't know it even existed until sometime last year. I was talking to somebody that I know, and they were telling me, hey, I go to these AA meetings. They help me deal with my alcohol addiction. Ever since I've been going to it, I stopped drinking. And I thought, okay, that's really cool. So I decided to go check it out for myself. So it was, I want to say, like a Saturday morning. And I kind of walked into the room. There was like at least 30 people in the room for my first meeting. And I was like, wow, this program's pretty popular. So I take my seat. The chairperson, basically the person in charge of the meeting, had, made his announcements, and then he asked everyone to go around to introduce themselves. Basically what you would do is you'll say your first name, and then you would say you're an alcoholic. So initially I didn't know this was coming. So everyone's going around, introduce themselves. I want to say after the first person had introduced themselves, let's just give an example. Let's just use the name John. Basically the guy was like, my name is John, alcoholic. And in my mind, my eyebrow kind of raised up a little bit. I'm like, alcoholic? Why are you calling yourself an alcoholic? Like, I didn't know how to take that. So what I did, I just played along. When it came to my turn, I said the same thing. I said my name, and I told him I was alcoholic. And I just didn't know how to take that at all, because I felt like it's degrading to call yourself that. But eventually, I just kind of went with the flow. And basically in these meetings, what they do is they do different ratings, like how it works, more about alcoholism, and there's a lot of different readings. And after that, people will do what they call shares, when they talk about their experience with alcohol, regardless if you're sober, basically not dealing with alcohol anymore, like how it used to be in your life and how you're doing without it. Now, there are going to be some people in the rooms who are still going to be technically drinkers. Me, on the other hand, I want to say it took me 3 to 4 months of being in the program before I decided to stop drinking for the time being. So me, I'm coming up on 3 months sober. Now, am I going to continue to not drink? Only time will tell, to be honest. And for me, when I look at Alcoholics Anonymous, I kind of feel a little indifferent, because for me, I don't consider myself an alcoholic. Now, if you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I'd probably been like, yeah, I consider myself an alcoholic because I drink a lot. I drink very often. I drink a lot. But before coming into the rooms, I think I drank maybe once or twice a week, and probably at the most, maybe 2 drinks at the most. So kind of like your weekend warrior type of deal. But long story short, when it comes all down to it, I think it can be a great program for people to help them recover from addiction, because obviously addiction is not fun. It's not fun to deal with. It may be fun in the beginning when you get whatever you're addicted to. It's probably fun in the beginning because you're getting all this joy, getting all this dopamine. But it's not fun when you are constantly relying on this dopamine, because now you feel like you gotta have it in order to cope with life, and it's not fun at all. Especially when it causes you personal problems, especially with friends and family, jobs, legal problems, and you know how it go. Because once it gets up there, it just gets worse and worse. Because I look at alcohol, and way I looked at alcohol prior to this program, I just used it as a way to socialize, to get to talk to people. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna use this beer or this liquor or whatever. I'm gonna use it to help open myself up, because I don't talk a lot. I'm a man of a few words, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll use this little alcohol to build my confidence, as they call it, that liquid courage. And and these 2 months of having no alcohol in my system, I feel better. Now, a part of me does say, man, I would love to get crack open a beer, just one beer, like a Corona. That was my drink of choice when it came down to beer. And I was like, you know what? It'd be really cool just to crack one open and just chill somewhere, right? So for me, since I didn't consider myself an alcoholic at the time when I was starting to attend these meetings, I kind of felt a little indifferent, because what I would do is I'll compare myself to everyone else that shares their stories. Because a lot of times you'll hear these stories about people that will say, oh, if you have one sip of alcohol, they are off the rails. It's blackout. There's no telling what will happen to them, where they'll be. And for me, I think I've only blacked out maybe once or twice in my life, as far as from drinking. So, but I ain't gonna lie. I want to say the first time I ever blacked out from drinking, it was actually pretty fun, because I got kicked out of a bar I was overseas, and I got kicked out of a bar, and I had got a taxi to get to and from that place. And the next day, somebody had told me the story about what I was doing. They said there was a song that was playing, and I was literally jumping up and down. This is the part of, like, I was doing that. And they said as soon as the beat had stopped, I just froze. And I was just like, yo, I was in my mind, yo, that's exciting. But anyway, let's get back to this AA. Another thing that was going through my mind was the 3 to 4 months I was drinking while I was in the program. I felt very kind of isolated, because the point of the program is to get you to stop drinking. And so in my mind, I'm like, I'm still drinking. These people are celebrating years of sobriety. Some people got months, because at the end of the AA meetings, they'll do what they call a chip system, which is basically like poker chips to represent how long you've been sober. But if you're not sober, you want to start to give you'll pick up a white chip. And this is how they kind of keep you in the program, is these chips. Because let's just give you an example of how it would work, how it supposedly works. Let's say for me, for example, I'm 2 months sober. If I were to go and relapse today, I would have to start over again, go back towards the end of the meeting, and pick up a white chip. So it doesn't matter how much sobriety time you have, you're required to start over from scratch. You got to start all the way. So you could be 3 years sober. Now you're starting at 0 days. You're back at day 0, starting all over. And it could be humiliating. It could be degrading. I remember the first time I relapsed in the program, I think I had made it 3 weeks at the time, and I went to the bar, one of the bars I used to go to, and I ordered one drink. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to be honest. I just say, hey, look, I relapsed. I went and told people, and they were like, man, what are you doing at the bar? What was you doing? So don't get me wrong. I get what they saying. I respect what they were saying, but I kind of felt a little shamed in a way. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna keep that on the down low. If I go out to a bar or whatnot, I don't even share it no more. I don't even talk about it, because people they feel some type of way. Now I get it. It's almost like putting gasoline on a fire. I totally get it, but that's not what I was doing. Because now I've learned to be able to be in an environment like that and not drink. For me, I just drink a Shirley Temple, which is basically Sprite with some cherries on it. So that fixed that problem. All it comes down to is my actions. And I said in the beginning that I'm not swearing off alcohol forever. Like, I'm never drinking ever again. But in my mind, I do feel better not having the alcohol in my system. So it's kind of that back and forth in my mind. Because when I was in the rooms and I was drinking, I just felt kind of embarrassed. I felt like, why am I here, right? But the whole point is to get you to basically stop drinking. And then once you stop drinking, you start feeling better. You feel like you kind of fit in more in the rooms, because when you are still in active addiction, still basically using substances, it makes you feel excluded. And then when you relapse, another thing, it kind of makes you not want to go back to the rooms because you feel like you let yourself down and you let everyone else down, people who are counting on you. Now, this can vary from person to person. There are some people who have relapsed and been able to go back in the rooms and people are really excited for them. And then there are some people who may not have gotten that same warm reception. It's going to vary from person to person. I'm just going to be real with you. It's not going to be black and white. Like if you come back and relapse, I would say majority of people in the rooms, for what I've seen, are going to be very receptive. They're going to be like, oh, welcome back. It's okay. But at the end of the day, it's your own program. So I'm going to tell you what I like about AA. What I like about the program, it does give you that camaraderie, just people, like-minded people who struggle with addiction, and you just being able to be in the same room and bond and share different stories and being able to learn from each other. What I don't like about the program is that it feels like you're gonna be forever stuck in this addiction. Like you basically, like some people will say in the rooms, like once you're an alcoholic or, you know, struggle with alcohol, you're always going to have that problem. You're always going to be an alcoholic. You're always going to be a drug addict, or depending on the 12-step program you're going to. And hey, look, that's going to vary from person to person. But basically long story short, they just want you to stay in the program for the rest of your life. That's how I feel. Like I'm looking at it like, look, I go when I want to go, when it's convenient. I'm being honest with myself. Like, I'm not gonna go every day. Some people go every day. Some people go to multiple meetings every day. And if that works for you, that's what you like, hey, salute. But for me, I'm like, look, I'm gonna go when it works for me. I'll go. But I think it has benefited me though, because I've learned to cope without having the alcohol. I've learned to be more social without it. Like I don't feel like I need it in order to cope. Now there are times where it's just like, man, this should go pop, where my mind, I just want to pop a beer just to kind of let loose a little bit. But I'm learning on my own, and it's through trial and error how I'm going to get better. But overall, I would say this program, it's helpful to some people. It will help the right person. It will help if you're willing to do what they call the 12 steps. There's 12 steps that they try to get you to do. And that's if you buy into that part of the program. Me personally, I'm not bought into the program. I'm not really bought in. I'm kind of just like, I'm kind of clock in type of person when it comes to this program. Another thing that what they encourage you to do is get a sponsor. And basically a sponsor, their job is to educate you, will help walk you through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the way it works is they pair you with the same male, with the same gender you are. So in my case, they would pair me with a male sponsor, and we would go through the 12 steps and we would work on them one at a time at their pace, and say, okay, we're going to work on step one, which is, basically admitting that you're powerless over this addiction. Which is basically the focal point of this video, is that step one of where they're talking about admitting you're powerless. It can be helpful, but this is where I think they keep you internally trapped, internally sick, because you're admitting you're powerless over this disease, and you're going to, they expect you to come to these meetings every week, and you're gonna be reading the same readings every week, saying your name, hey, I'm alcoholic, and calling yourself an alcoholic. And there's some people it works for. Some people, I know some people in the program that have got 20, 30 years sobriety that still come into the rooms. But that's going to vary from person to person. I don't see myself doing that, but I see myself going to the program and learning from people. Because that's the biggest takeaway I have from the program, is just learning from people's shares and try to use some of these techniques to help improve my life and get better, because there is a lot to learn, because you don't have to technically be an alcoholic. You can apply some of these tools to wherever you're trying to get to in your life. And anyway, guys, this is the end of this video. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and G-Bone is out.